In this session, we're going to build the interactive menu for our financial charts. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at what we're trying to accomplish. We want to build a menu that, when clicked, smoothly navigates to another slide and display the corresponding chart logo. This will be a lot easier than the wheel-based menu we built in the science module. Let's check out the setup in the selection pane to understand how it's structured. First off, we have a Hide Menu Top. This is where I would normally place my company logo. Now, I understand that most companies have very specific brand guidelines, rules about logo placement, spacing, surrounding elements, approved fonts, and color palettes. And we won't actually place a logo here, but for the sake of training, I've added a logo placeholder. Next up is the actual menu, and it's quite simple once you break it down. We have two inactive icons that represent the slides we're not currently on, and these are what we'll use to link and navigate to the other charts. And then we have three active icon groups. One is visible on the current slide, representing the chart you're viewing, while the other two are placed outside the canvas and are ready to fly in when their corresponding inactive icon is clicked. Finally, there's the actual menu shape itself. Zooming out a bit, we can see that it's just a long, vertical column with a cutout in the middle. That cutout is designed to fit the active icon group, giving the illusion that the icon is neatly housed within the cutout. This structure allows for a clean and smooth experience while keeping everything simple and manageable. Let's zoom back in and wrap up the overview. The last thing worth pointing out is that the whole menu system is powered by the Morph transition. That's what gives it the smooth, animated slide between different charts when we click a logo. No complex animations needed. All right, let's get started. Head over to slide 1, and let's begin. On the screen, you'll see a simple vector cutout. This isn't a significant vector, just one I quickly downloaded from Google. Any other shape from the Insert tab would work as well. First, select the vector cutout. Then, go to the Graphic Format tab and click Convert to Shape. Once converted, head to the selection pane. Delete any background or extra lines. Leave only the curved bell shape that we'll use as the cutout. Finally, rename the remaining shape something like Cutout. Now, let's zoom out a bit more so we have some extra room to work with. Head to the Insert tab and insert a rectangle shape. Drag it so it extends beyond the edges of the slide. Once it's placed, go to the Align options and choose Align Middle and Align Left. Then rename this shape to Menu in the selection pane to stay organized. Instead of manually adjusting colors and styles, use the Format Painter from the finished menu on slide 2. Just select the existing menu shape there. Click Format Painter in the Home tab and apply it to the new rectangle. Let's zoom in a bit more so we can work with better precision. Now grab the cutout shape, the curved bell we renamed earlier, and rotate it 90 degrees by clicking and dragging the small circular rotation handle at the top of the shape. Once it's rotated, scale it down a bit in both width and height. Try to match the shape you see on my screen as closely as you can, but don't worry if it's not a perfect match. This is just for training purposes, so feel free to experiment a little. We'll use this shape to cut a hole out of the bottom part of the rectangle in the next step. So go ahead and maneuver it underneath the rectangle. You can use your mouse to position it roughly where you want it. And then, for more precise control, tap the arrow keys on your keyboard to nudge it into place. Now, select both the menu rectangle and the cutout shape in the selection pane. Once both are selected, go to the Shape Format tab in the ribbon at the top. Click on Merge Shapes, and from the drop-down, choose Subtract. What we just did only created a shallow indent in the rectangle from the cutout. we still need to remove the remaining leftover part of the rectangle. Head to the Insert tab, and under Shapes, select Freeform, Scribble. Now, carefully draw around the area inside the indent that needs to be removed. You can trace just along the edge of the subtract cut and close the shape by looping back to your starting point. Once the shape is drawn, select both objects in the selection pane. Go to the Shape Format tab, click Merge Shapes, and this time, again, choose Subtract. You should now have a perfectly clean cutout inside the menu, just the way we need it for our active icon. You can now go ahead and rename the cutout object to Menu for clarity. Next, head back to the Insert tab, select Shapes, and choose Oval. Hold down Ctrl plus Shift as you draw to create a perfect circle. Try to fit it snugly within the cutout you just made. If you were thinking of using the Format Painter from the circle on slide 2, unfortunately, that won't work directly since the circle there is grouped. But no worries. You can still use the Format Painter from the rectangle on slide 1 to style the circle. The Format Painter works even across different shapes, and in this case, we just need the matching color, not the shape type. This will give your new circle a consistent design with the rest of the menu. Now, duplicate the circle 2 times, so you have a total of 3. Then, rename each of them clearly in the selection pane. Next, drag the bottom circle further down on the slide to space them out a bit. Once the top and bottom are positioned, select all 3, go to the Shape Format tab, and use the Align Center. Then, use Distribute Vertically to make sure there's equal spacing between them. Next, let's add the icons for our menu. This time, instead of designing them from scratch like we did in the previous module, we'll use PowerPoint's built-in icon library. Head to the Insert tab and click Icons. Once the icon library opens, use the search field and type in Pi. You'll see a variety of options. You can choose any style you like, but for this tutorial, I'm going with the pie chart with the thin outline. Right-click the pie chart icon you just inserted and change its fill color to white. Next, head back to the Insert tab. Click Icons again, and this time search for Chart. Choose the first option, or whichever style you prefer, and insert it onto the slide. Now, for the last one, go back once more to insert icons. Search for Graph. I'll choose the one that looks like an X within the graph. Once it's inserted, you can flip the icon by grabbing one of its side handles and dragging it across and beyond the shape to change its direction. You can now use the Format Painter from the pie chart icon to color all 3 icons white for consistency. Then, rename each of the icons in the selection pane. After that, select all 3 icons and resize them so that they fit neatly inside the circles we just created. Remember to hold down Ctrl plus Shift while resizing. Now, we need to place each icon on top of its corresponding circle. The pie chart goes on top, the line chart in the middle, and the column chart at the bottom. When I used the Align Circles trick earlier, I noticed that my number 3 ended up on top and number 1 at the bottom. It doesn't really matter, but if you're wondering why things seem a little flipped, that's the reason. Next, select each icon and its circle. Use Align Center and Align Middle to perfectly position them, then right-click and group them together. One of the benefits of grouping elements like this is that PowerPoint treats each group as a unique entity, which becomes important in the next step when we apply transitions and effects. Sometimes, PowerPoint mistakenly interprets multiple objects, like our identical circles, as the same object, which can mess up the morph transition. Grouping them avoids this issue by assigning each group a distinct identity. Go ahead and rename each group in the selection pane so they're easy to manage. Then head to the Transitions tab and choose Morph from the Transition options. And once the Morph transition is applied, duplicate the slide 2 times. On slide 3, start by selecting both the line and pie icon groups. Then, using the arrow keys on your keyboard, nudge them outside the slide area to the left. Next, select the menu rectangle and use the down arrow key to gently nudge it downward until the column circle is perfectly centered in the cutout. We're using the arrow keys instead of dragging to ensure precise alignment between slides. This guarantees that the morph transition remains smooth and clean. Now, we need to do the same on slide 2. This time, select the pie and column icon groups and use the arrow keys to nudge them off the slide to the left. Then, select the menu rectangle and push it downward until the line circle is perfectly centered in the cutout. Lastly, on slide 1, select the line and column icon groups and use the arrow keys to move them off the slide to the left. Then go ahead and play the slide. Use the arrow keys or click your mouse to move between slides, and watch how the morph transition animates the menu sliding and the icons swapping into position. Now let's make the menu interactive by adding clickable icons. Start on slide 1. Select the column, line, and pie icons from their respective groups and copy each one individually. Then, place each copy directly into the center of the menu column. Use the red alignment guides to ensure each icon is perfectly centered and horizontally aligned with its corresponding original icon. Once they're in place, rename each new icon in the selection pane for clarity. Finally, update their fill color to a slightly grayer tone than the originals. This subtle change will make them appear inactive, signaling to the user that these icons are clickable but not currently selected. Then right-click each of the newly placed icons and assign them a link to the corresponding slide. Then in the window that opens, choose slide 1 under Place in this document. Do the same for the other 2 icons by right-clicking the line icon and linking it to slide 2 and the column icon to slide 3. Copy all 3 of the clickable icons from slide 1 and paste them into slide 2 and slide 3. Once the clickable icons are in place on all 3 slides, go ahead and clean up the inactive duplicates. On slide 3, delete the inactive column icon since it's the active one on this slide. On slide 2, delete the inactive line icon. On slide 1, delete the inactive pie icon. Play the slides and test the interactivity. Click each icon to confirm that it transitions smoothly to the correct slide, with the morph effect pulling the active icon into the center slot of the menu. Great, but there's one last thing to consider. I think it looks better if the menu is placed above the icon groups so that the icons slide underneath the menu rather than over it. To fix this, go to the selection pane and drag the menu group above the icon groups. Now, let's play the slide again and see how it looks. The absolute final thing I want to do is add a logo placeholder box in the top left corner. Go to the Insert tab, then insert a rectangle and position it in the top left corner of the slide. Set the fill color to match the background. Use the eyedropper tool to select the exact same color. Do the same for the outline, setting it to the same background color as well. Then, rename the rectangle to something like Logo Placeholder in the selection pane. And next, copy it and paste it into slide 2 and slide 3. Play the slide one last time and enjoy the finished result. We're officially done with the financial menu. In the next session, we'll merge everything together and wrap up the entire module. You can choose to either delete slides 1, 2, and 3 and keep 4, 5, and 6, or delete 4, 5, and 6 and keep the first set, whichever version you feel is more polished.